Yo fam, let's talk about how we're going to go from average to absolutely jacked. This is going to be your physique blueprint to put on some massive size. Today we're going to be mostly talking about how to put on size for your chest and legs. But in general, I'm going to make sure that I teach you guys principles that are going to help you put on size overall. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is a problem that I've been seeing across the board for most people that are having a hard time putting on size. So you're not growing because of bad genetics. Let's just get that out of our heads. It's not your genetics that's holding you back. It's just some key habits. You're missing out on gains because you've been treating your body like a side project instead of a mission. We need to take this more seriously. Yes, muscle building isn't rocket science, but well, there's a lot of people that are missing the mark. So it has to be a little bit harder than, easy, but it's not rocket science, right? So if your chest still looks like it did in high school, if your legs gas out halfway through a set, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've never followed a clear plan long enough to actually build something worth staring at in the mirror. You should be proud of yourself when you look in the mirror, right? You should feel confident. You should walk into a room with your chest up knowing that you look freaking good, right? So today's mission, show you the exact blueprint to pack on size on your chest, legs, and overall frame. And let's not waste any more time, right? So let's get into it. Bottlenecks. Bottleneck one is your nutrition inconsistency. No structure to diet, so that means we're not going to grow. Missing days in training or just in general not having a consistent routine with our meals and nutrition, you're going to lose momentum and you're going to shrink instead of grow. Or, at the very best, we're going to maintain our body weight, which is a lot of what guys suffer with. They just have they maintain the same body weight, and then as time goes on, their metabolism gets weaker, and then they get a dad bod. So you're underestimating the importance of calories and protein. Our next two bottlenecks is low conditioning. You're not going to be able to push yourself in the gym if your conditioning sucks. That's why cardio is important. I always hear this, and I often say this to my own clients. Muscle is longevity of life, but it's mostly going to help you with, basic functions as you get older, and it's going to make you look good. That's the biggest things that you're going to feel confident, you're going to feel good, and it will obviously help you the basic functions as you get older. You want to be able to get up from a chair, you want to be able to lift up your wife or your kids, basic things like that. Grocery hauls, you don't want to do one trip, you don't want to do 20 trips, you want to do one trip, so you'll grab like 50 bags or whatever. I do that. But cardio is going to be the thing, conditioning is going to be the thing that's going to really increase the longevity of your life, the overall quality of your life. That's why it's important to still do cardio. So if someone's telling you not to do any cardio, that's dumb. There should be some cardio, even if it's in the form of, low intensity, steady state cardio, if it's just walking, getting your steps in, that is important too. But also, if your conditioning sucks, then you're not going to be able to push in the gym. And if you can't push in the gym, you can't grow. So conditioning is important for a lot of different things. Bottleneck number 3, training without a growth plan. Lifting for the pump is a terrible, terrible idea. Don't just go to the gym trying to am I going to get a nice pump in my chest, or am I getting a nice pump in my back or legs or arms or whatever? Don't go to the gym just for the feeling of it. There's been plenty of sessions where I didn't get a great feeling, albeit my nutrition, my sleep, and my training is so locked in. Most days I do get a pump, but it's not always, and some days are better than others, right? Don't just chase the pump. Actually follow a structured program. You should be sticking to, more or less the same program for at least 8 weeks. Your program shouldn't be shifting every, week or 2 or 3 or even a month. A month, I would say, might be the absolute minimum if you want to shift gears, but you're not going to grow massive amounts of size following the same plan even just for a single month. You have to follow the same plan for months, sometimes years. So yeah, don't just follow random workouts, and don't just not track any of your weights. You need to know exactly what's going to push the needle forward. All right, so the vision, guys. The vision is we want a thick, round chest, right? That pops in any shirt. You want to look like Captain America in your t-shirt. That's not an extra small. We don't wear extra smalls. We want to look big in large t-shirts, right? Or even better yet, extra large t-shirts. We want powerful, athletic legs. We don't just want big legs that are tree trunks. We want them to actually do something and be able to perform. We want balanced, dense, commanding frame, confidence that carries into every part of our life, and then I always tell people you should look like a movie star. Like why not? Life just gets better when you feel that good. So let's get into it. The three pillars of size. Pillar one, ruthless nutrition, consistency. So we're going to actually talk about how to put on some lean mass without putting on globs of fat. One of our pillars in our coaching, our code of conduct is no sloppiness. We don't want sloppy gains. We want clean size. And the only way to do that is to be in a surplus, which a lot of you guys probably know about that. But you may not know how to figure out your exact caloric surplus. So there's different ways of doing it. This is the exact way that I go about doing it. I'm going to go ahead and click on here. It's going to bring me to the ideal weight calculator. So I pretty much have it memorized, like at every single weight, or rather every height. I have an overall idea of the ideal weight that you should be at your height. But for me, I'll show you what my ideal height is, and this is actually like really like not much. It's not incorporating a lot of like muscle mass in this overall height, so don't get like dismayed or discouraged or whatever. Like this is simply just like the overall ideal weight if you were just an average healthy individual, not massed out with a lot of muscle mass. This is just ideal weight if you're considered, for a healthy male at my height. So I'm going to put in my age, which is 30, 6 feet, 0 inches, and then we're going to calculate. And it's going to come over here and show you the different formulas it's going to use. You don't need to know all the different formulas. It basically rounds for you. And it says you should be anywhere between 136 is super skinny. I would not recommend that. That's like basically anorexic at my height. But 184 is about where most people should be. 170, I would say, if we take the low end and the high end, this is the range that we should be in. And actually, if we can get rid of the 164, because that's still pretty dang skinny for 6 feet. Let's say 170 to 184 is the range. And that's, again, not incorporating a lot of muscle mass. This is just being an average healthy individual that barely goes to the gym or doesn't even go to the gym at all, or just eats healthy, right? So what I like to do is if you want to have lean muscle mass on top of this, you just add 10 pounds of muscle mass to this. And now we're around 185, 195, and that's still lean. Like you can still be really lean around these weights. And to give you a reference, for me, when I'm getting ready for a show, I get down to around like 6%, 5% body fat for my bodybuilding shows. I'm natural, by the way. And I'm around anywhere between, like my first show I was 175. I was really, really small. Next show I was like 178, and then my last show I was 185. And that's the course of like 8 years of training. My first, year of bodybuilding, I was only trained for about 6 years or 5 years, and then I was able to get lean enough at like 4% body fat at 170 or 175 or maybe a little bit below that. But you see the range, and it takes a long time to put on size. That being said, this is how you find your ideal weight. Once you find your ideal weight, that's important, because then after that, you're going to go to your calories, and you want to find your how much you can eat on a daily basis. And boom. So now let's say 30. I know more or less exactly how much I need to eat for maintenance, which for me is around 26 to 2,700 calories. I'm currently 206, I think. Yeah, 206, not 1206. And I train, and this is more or less getting like a gauge of how active you are. I'm really active. I only train 3 times a week, but I'm not going to write light exercise. I would say more on the side of active. I used to be very active, but daily exercise 3 to 4 times a week is the exact thing. So I intend to exercise 3 to 4 times a week. Calculate, it's going to tell me how many calories I should be adjusting for to maintain or lose weight. So yeah, my maintenance weight can be 2,900 when I'm super active, but right now I would say my maintenance is more like around 2,700 calories. Weight loss for me is anywhere between 2,400 calories. If I consume 2,400 calories, I'll lose about a pound a week. And if I want to lose 2 pounds a week, this is how much I need to eat. So you do the same as that process, and then you just reverse engineer. So you find your ideal weight. Now, why is that important? The reason why that's important is you need to find out your macros. And I can't talk about HIIT protein target daily until we find out what our target protein should be. So when you find your ideal weight calculator, when you use your you use the calculator to find your ideal weight, that's going to tell you more or less how much your ideal weight is without much muscle mass. And I told you add anywhere between 10 to 20 pounds on top of that, depending on how much muscle you want to put on. For most people, I think 20 pounds is a little too much. So let's say 10 pounds. So it said for me 175. You want to that's my ideal weight. So if you do 10 pounds plus that, it puts me at 185. We round it to 190. That's about how much protein I need to have during the beginning of my cut, even during the beginning of my bulk. But as time goes on and you're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into a cut, every couple of weeks, I would say every, depending on, your the speed of your cut, the rate of your cut, if you're losing 1 or 2 pounds a week, depending on how slow it is, you want to drop about 200 calories every 4 weeks. If you're trying to gain weight, it's the opposite. Every 4 weeks, I would say even longer. I would say every 8 weeks, increase your calories by maybe 200, 300. Because again, we want to make sure we're not putting on a lot of body fat. We're putting on mostly muscle mass. It takes way longer, to put on size than it is to lose body fat. Losing body fat can happen decently quick if you have a healthy metabolism. So you just you find your protein target by finding your ideal weight, adding 10 pounds to that. So if you're 175, if your ideal weight is 175 and you add maybe 10 to 20 pounds, it's either 185 or 195. And then as time goes on, you should be adding more protein in as you're getting deeper into caloric deficit. So you should be taking away calories from your fats and carbs while decreasing your calories and increasing the amount of protein you're having. So by the end of your cut, you should be at least 30 to 40 grams above your ideal body weight or lean mass. So at the end of my cut, I'm typically around 240 to 250 grams of protein at the end of my cut for the last 8 weeks or 12 weeks. And my cuts can last anywhere between 16 to 20 plus weeks, depending on how lean I want to get. So, and then my last piece of advice to you is keep meals repeatable until growth becomes automatic. So don't change things up a lot. I think that's another big mistake people make, is that they overcomplicate things by trying to make their meals super lavish. Just start with the basics, guys. Especially since we live in a society where we can really abuse things like air fryers. You have a grill, abuse the grill. There's meal prep systems out there. If you have the coin to spend on meal prep systems, for example, back where I used to live in Long Island, there's this place called Hummus Fit. There's 5 of them on the island now. Back when I was living there, there was only 2 or 3, I think. They package meals for you. There's Redefine. There's a lot of different types of systems out there around you that's local, probably, that you can look into, and they'll charge you anywhere between $5 per meal, which is really cheap, to $9 to $10 a meal, which can obviously be more pricey. But keep it simple. I can't tell you how many years for breakfast. I think for 8 years straight, I had cream of wheat every single morning with 2 scoops of protein powder and a dash of cinnamon, because my favorite protein powder is MyProtein. I'm not sponsored. Check them out. MyProtein US or MyProtein.com US is the best protein powder, I always say, on the market. It always gets an A to A minus grade from third-party labs, and it's also super cheap. I get 10 pounds of it for $100 or even $70, depending on their discount rates. But that's not bad at all, considering that lasts me nearly 2 months, depending on if I'm not in a cut. If I'm in a cut, then that lasts me about maybe a month, because I go through protein way faster. As you saw, eating 240 to 250 grams of protein can add up really quickly. So just keep it simple, guys. Another meal I had for a long time was knishes. I had knishes for if you guys don't know what that is, potato knishes is basically a Polish/Jewish I don't want to say pastry, but it's basically mashed potato with seasoning, and it's wrapped in more potato, crispy potato, and it's this delicious giant tater tot that's low fat. I love it. It tastes amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my charger here so that I don't disappear. All right, back online. So keep it simple, guys. All right, next thing, and I'm gonna minimize myself because we don't need me to be that big. Hypertrophy and volume mastery. So like I said, this video is going to be mostly talking about how to put on size primarily in the chest and legs region. I'm going to give you what I believe is like A tier level exercises for your compound lifts. So for chest, A tier exercises would be horizontal isolateral bench press. That is one of the best machines out there that mimics the bench press but takes off all the load, all the stress and stability that a normal bench press would cause. If you want to know what it looks like, we can pull it up real quick. Isolateral bench press. So you have an idea. Like even Planet Fitness has been carrying these. Or I should probably type horizontal. It's a horizontal one. Let's see if they have it. Yeah, here it is. So these machines are excellent. Some of them are better than others. If it ever loads. There we go. So it's plate loadable, and hopefully the bar is coming a little bit closer than this. This one's it's pretty freaking wide. You want one that you can do close grip if you wanted to, or you can do wider, and it mimics the bench press without all the stress and all the stability you would need for a regular bench press. It's one of my favorite exercises for putting on mass in your chest. And I'm not saying that regular bench press is bad, but there is a lot of fatigue carried over in the regular bench press. I always tell people, if you're a noob, if you're someone that's really new to training, master the basics. Get used to doing regular bench press, regular squats, but this is all about optimizing size. So if you want to put on size fast, you've already learned how to do the right form for regular bench press, squat, deadlift, then go ahead and do their variations or their machine counterparts, because the machines are literally meant to help, reduce fatigue and increase your ability to recover and do more weight. I can do like 4 plates on the horizontal isolateral bench press for 4 to 6 reps. I can't do 4 plates for multiple reps on the regular bench press. There's too much skill involved. Same thing for the squats and deadlifts and all that. So you saw what that is. So if you don't have a horizontal isolateral bench press, the next best thing would be a Smith bench press. I don't love that for the fact that like the horizontal isolateral bench press, it does more or less mimic the actual bar path of a regular barbell bench press, because it helps you press in and out. So you should always start. If I were to increase my screen here and show you, like when you're doing a bench press, you should quite literally see an arching path. So pretend that you're looking at me laying down a bench press. You should start at your solar plexus. You should never start right at the midline of your chest. A lot of people, they come down to like the midline of their chest, or they don't even come all the way down at all. No good, either one. You should come down to a solar plexus. So the solar plexus is this spot right here. It's the very bottom portion of your chest. It's the soft portion where if you punch hard there, you lose all your air. That's where the bar should come down to. And when you're coming down, you should come down there, and then your arm should come up. So there's a literal, if you see my finger, there's a literal arching path that happens when you're pressing. Whereas a Smith machine, you're locked into a linear path. Or maybe if it's like one of those like incline Smith machines where it's diagonal, say it's going away that way, now you're pressing, you want one that's you're actually going with the grain, so you're coming more like up, but you don't want to be pressing away from you. So if you're facing it, like say the bench is facing, I know again this is kind of like weird because I'm not laying down, but say I'm laying down, the machine's angled that way. You don't want to be pressing away. You want to be pressing straight up and down as much as possible. So it is the next best thing because you can load it as much as possible. And again, we don't want to stabilize as much if we're trying to grow as much muscle. Chest press machine, another great exercise. Try to get the one that's not plate loadable, the one that's pin loadable, where you put the pin in, because that machine will put constant tension on your chest, whereas these exercises, other than the Smith bench press, will put constant tension on your chest. But anything that's plate loadable, it's on a fulcrum system. It's on like after a certain point in the movement, it's going to get easier and harder. Whereas anything that's pin loadable is going to be consistently hard throughout the entire movement. Weighted dips, great for tricep development. I know that says chest there, but it's also good for chest. And the reason why I put it in here is because once you master weighted dips first for your triceps, then you can do Gironda dips. And basically Gironda dips, if we were to go over here and show you real quick what Gironda dips looks like, It was created by Vince Gironda. And it's at a very extreme range of motion dip with your chest facing down. Typical dips is your chest is facing up, and Gironda dips is when your chest is facing down. So I'm already seeing some bad form across the board. Like this guy is apparently doing, it looks like a banded Gironda dip, but he's not getting his chest down. He's focusing mostly on his triceps. See how high his chest up is? His chest is facing neutrally upward. You don't want that for a Gironda dip. So we want one where this guy's forcibly trying to put his chest down. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I'm trying to find one where there's somebody purposely facing like all the way down. I wish I had my old videos. So this guy, you can see this guy. He's starting with his chest all the way down. A typical tricep. This one's also good. You see how the depth that they're getting. The elbows are pretty dang high. Typically for a tricep accentuated tricep dip, you're getting your elbow in line with your shoulder. But for the Gironda dip, you see how high the elbow is in line with the shoulder. If I were to draw a line between the two of them, it'd be a diagonal line. That is good for a Gironda dip. You want that much depth. You also go wider than your typical tricep extension, or rather a tricep dip. It's all around a really good exercise, but it's very, very rough on the shoulder. So if you don't have good shoulders, that's why I always tell people don't immediately try to do those. Try to master the tricep dips before you start doing Gironda dips. Oh, here's a good one. It looks like we have a little cartoon. Let's view the file. Yeah, so see how he is facing downward and his elbows are wide. You have a wider grip. Chin on chest. You have your feet pushed forward. And I would even say, like, you still want your chest to be pushed forward even more than this. Even more than this. But again, it's tough. Very, very tough exercise to master. But if you can, it works the lower chest like none other. So yeah, this gets overall chest. This gets overall chest. Chest presser machine gets overall chest. Weighted dips, triceps, more tricep focus when you're doing just the regular weighted tricep dips. Gironda dips gets lower chest, and then hammer strength incline press. Again, try to get the pin loadable one. It's not terrible if you get the plate loadable one, but the pin loadable helps you keep that constant tension like I mentioned. That will be the upper chest. If you just pick one of each portion of your chest, you'll get a well-rounded chest. So if you have this, paired with the Gironda dips, paired with the hammer strength, it gets your general chest, then your lower chest, and then your upper chest. Boom, you're good. Most people need to work their incline, their upper chest more than their lower chest. So I would recommend doing like the overall chest first, then hammer strength, and then Gironda dips, just to put in the correct order. Because whatever exercise gets hit first is where that muscle is going to grow. It's going to take precedence in recovery over the other ones. So you want to take the muscle that you want to grow the most and take that exercise and put it to the very front of the line. We're already at 23 minutes, so I don't want to take much more of y'all's time. So let's go ahead and speed through this. Legs, A-tier exercises, RDLs. If you have a pitch shark, pitch sharks are great for taking the load off your back. And there have been recent in not most gyms, but in nice gyms, pitch shark belt squat. You can do RDLs on the belt squat pitch shark exercise. Once it loads. Yeah, here we go. So as you can see, this lady is doing a front squat, I think. I'm not sure why her arms are all the way up there. Is she just cross-armed? Oh no, she's doing a front squat. That's kind of weird. Holding it up that way. But you see what I'm talking about. You can do RDLs, stiff-legged squats, all in this machine, and it will do you wonders. This guy's doing a regular squat. Some of them have handles. The handle ones are great because then if you're suffering, you can help get your upper body in there as well. And also really helps with your spine. If you have like herniated discs or whatever, any spinal problems, that exercise will straighten out your back real well. Deep squat leg press. That's another favorite of mine. It's not your typical leg press. A deep squat leg press, my old gym had it. It basically, well, just like the name says, it helps you get really deep in the leg press. So hopefully it'll populate here. Maybe not. I don't think I see it anywhere. Dang. I think it was actually a hoist. I think it was a hoist deep press. So maybe if I type in hoist. Oh, that might give me a chest press. Yeah, it's gonna give me a chest press. Ah, here it is. Actually, no, that's not it. Anyways, a leg press would do just fine. If you could find a deep squat leg press, that one's an amazing leg press. It's better than a regular leg press. Smith squat, like I said, if you haven't done the basics, go to learn the basics. Learn a basic squat, full range of motion. Learn a full range of motion, stiff legged deadlift, and a single legged leg press is great. Not as hard as a Bulgarian split squat, but mimics the same action, and at least it will work the same muscles. It'll work your quads and glutes like crazy. And if you have a hard time getting depth, that's one way to force depth, is doing a single-legged leg press. Just start light. Don't do very heavy, obviously. And then these are good variations: lunges, ham curls. You don't want to throw these into your workouts. Variation at the end of your chest days, primarily machine flies. Once again, if you're new, do dumbbell flies because you need to learn the correct form before you do the machines. If you go into the machines, some people say, "Oh well, it helps me with my form." If you don't know a good form and you throw yourself in the machine, it will lock you into a certain movement pattern, and you might move incorrectly. So the machines aren't always a good way to fix your form. Lunges, great. Ham curls, great. What you want to do is track your reps, weight, and this means reps in reserve. In my business, we either do reps in reserve. Most of the time, we do RPE. They're basically the same thing. So reps in reserve basically means after every single set, you track how many more reps you think you could have gotten. So you always want to more or less you always want to have like 1 to 3 reps left. You don't always want to be like destroying yourself on every single set. You want to have anywhere between 1 to 3 reps in the tank. And the first compound lifts, that's very true. You want, I would say, more often than not, for the first like 1 to 3 compound lifts. So say you do a horizontal isolateral bench press for your first compound lift. You want to make sure that you have, like, on every single set, either 1 rep left in the tank or almost no reps in the tank. You do want to come as close to failure as possible because these are the most you're going to get the most bang for your buck and the most return on your gains for these exercises. And then as you get closer to like the accessory work, which should be halfway through your workout, about almost the beginning or halfway of your workout, you want to have a little more reps in the reserve because you don't want to just blast yourself on everything. You should not be failing on every single exercise. It's just nearly impossible to recover from. But from what I've learned, most people don't get anywhere near close to training hard enough. So I don't think that's most people's problem is overtraining. I think most people's problem is undertraining. The 3 pillars of size, conditioning for growth. So 2 to 3 short conditioning sessions. You want to try to do some type of HIIT session, whether on the assault bike, the Stairmaster, the row machine, or just doing some sled pushes. It should last you about 20 to 30 minutes every single session. And the reason why is, like I said at the very beginning, if you're not able to last during your workout, and you're resting like 3 to 5 minutes between every single set, during your training session where you're doing weights, that's no good. Now, if you're a power lifter, then that makes sense. You should be resting 3+ minutes every single time. But most of us don't have time to do that, right? So you should try resting maximum of 2 minutes. That's what I try to give myself at least, and minimum of 1 minute. I would say anything below that, you're infringing upon more just cardio workouts. And I'm talking about weightlifting. When it comes to these sessions, when you're doing HIIT rounds, there really should be minimal rest. So in between intervals or whatever, your HIIT training, your sled pushes, your assault bikes, there should be minimal rest. And I'm talking mostly HIIT training. So 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy, or 1 minute and 30 seconds hard, 30 seconds easy. That's really, really tough to do. You want to start out easier. So maybe like a minute or a minute and a half, like easy, and then 30 seconds hard. Some people that have terrible conditioning, you might want to start that way, where you're doing like a minute and 30 seconds, at an easy pace. You're able to have a conversation, and then you're blitzing yourself for 30 seconds. And then scale from there, and like increase the time where you're being more intense for 40 seconds, then to 50 seconds, then to a minute, and then reduce the time that you're going easy on yourself by 30 seconds to just a minute to then to 30 seconds. You doing this will really help you boost your recovery, your work capacity, your set performance, and you'll actually be able to finish your sets without having to take a break. So this may have been a slap in the face. If you're not willing to eat like a pro, be consistent. Just eat the same meals. I'm not saying it has to be disgusting. I'm not saying it has to be plain, but find meals that you enjoy and then eat the same thing. Don't overcomplicate it. Train like a pro, recover like a pro. You need to do all this stuff, guys. You be consistent. Log your workouts, and understand your RPE or your reps in reserve. Don't jump around with your program. Stick with the same program for at least 8 weeks, minimum of 8 weeks, maximum of 16 weeks, and then think about changing it. Even after 16 weeks, you can still stick to the same program. It just depends on what you're really trying to do, right? And then I said here, you don't get to complain about not looking like a pro. So we don't want to be complainers. We have been given the beautiful blessing of life. We all should be extremely grateful, and it is an opportunity to get jacked, right? So fast track in 16 weeks, you're going to see noticeable gains if you actually do all this. Dramatically better chest and leg development. You'll get better endurance and more confidence under the bar and out of the bar. And if you want a shortcut to all this and follow a proven system that, with guidance, feedback, and accountability, my program exists for that reason. My program is called the Muscle Mastery Manifesto. And just like it says in the name, we're all about mastering everything. So you saw how much of a stickler I was for almost everything I talked about today. You want to make sure you master every little thing. Don't just say, oh, well, it's just a bench press. Oh, it's just a fly. Oh, it's just a pull-up. Oh, it's just a leg press. Oh, it's just a squat. No, like that same type of reasoning, that same type of logic is going to cause you to fail. It's going to cause your form to be bad. It's going to cause you to not grow the right muscles. It may cause you not to grow any muscle at all. You need to be humble. Just like my business name is called Humboldt Fitness, HUMBOLD, Humboldt Fitness. You need to be humble enough to learn and bold enough to execute. So, don't oversimplify this. Obviously, don't overcomplicate it, but don't oversimplify it to the point where you kind of just think, oh, well, it is what it is. Really try to master your exercises, try to master your nutrition, and before you know it, after a year of training, you will be unrecognizable. So, that being said, this is, shameless plug. If you need help with your fitness, your nutrition, I'm here as always. You can click the link in my YouTube. It'll lead you to a sign-up time for us to find out a time to talk. I'll talk to you exactly about what we can do, the exact game plan we can make for you to help you get that unrecognizable look, that full transformation where you'll be, unrecognizable forever and be jacked forever. So that's the goal. All right, guys. That's it. You're already in the gym. You're already putting the time. The only question is, are you going to make the time count? So go out there, kill it. Take the stuff I just taught you now, and you should be you're well on your way to full transformation. All right, guys. That's it. Stevie out. Peace.